Welcome into Clippers Countdown. As your LA Clippers are in the final game of this 5-game road trip after a 4-day break. They're in Houston taking on the 15-6 Rockets, who have lived up to their offseason moves with the addition of Kevin Durant and look to be a team trying to challenge the Thunder at the top of the West, even after losing Fred VanVleet before the season started. While the Clippers have sustained their own injuries, even with that context applied, though, it's still an extremely disappointing start considering their 6-18 record, with their last loss seeing them lose an 18-point lead in Minnesota back on Saturday. Yes, the process has been better as of late, but the Clippers still need results to turn things around. Here was Coach Lue, though, at practice recently on if he's seen progress.
We played better. We've been close. It's just, one turnover that we shouldn't have, or one missed box out, or, one missed open three, win the game. And so we've been close, and so just got to continue to keep plugging away. And we got to turn it. Like, we can't have guys turn it for it. We got to turn it for ourselves. And our guys are doing that. It's just we haven't been able to get over that hump.
Well, tonight is going to be a big hill to climb, perhaps the one necessary, though, to turn things around in this Clippers season. Tip-off from Houston between the Clippers and Rockets is just about 59 minutes away. Coming up, you're going to hear from the head coach and Tyronn Lue, but up next is your radio voice of the Clippers and Carlo Jimenez right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip-off just about 57 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Welcome back in. I'm Adam Osland. Still to come, you're going to hear from the head coach and Tyronn Lue. But first, let's head back over to your radio voice of the Clippers in Carlo Jimenez from Houston. Carlo, what's up?
Adam, it is so good to hear your voice. It's been way too long. I'm good. I'm here in Houston. We made it to H-Town. And the Clippers, after a nice 4 days off, looking for a road win.
Yeah, Clippers still on this road trip. Final game of the 5-game roadie. Game 4 was Minnesota back on Saturday. They would fall by 3 in a game they led by 18 in. And once again, just seemed like the same problems crept up in the second half with this Clippers team maybe running out of gas, Carlo.
Yeah, it just felt like the Clippers had an opportunity to really put that game away early. They were up by as many as 18, but then a big run in the fourth quarter, and thanks to some really hot shooting by the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, they were 6 for 8 in the fourth quarter. Naz Reid with a couple of huge threes down the stretch. The Clippers just were unable to slow down the hot shooting of the Minnesota offense. You mentioned them running out of gas. It really felt like they weren't able to play that excellent defense. And then on the final possession that really did them in I mean, no offensive rebounds pretty much all game for Minnesota. An offensive rebound leads to a Naz Reid three, and that was the final nail in the coffin against the Clips.
Yeah, this Clippers team still struggling to figure things out in the second half. Where you look, they're a top 5 net rating team in the first half, a bottom 5 net rating they have in the second half of ball games. Some of it could be age related, but some of it just, they haven't played well enough so far this season. Their record is indicative of that. But Coach Lou talked about it. We played the audio coming in the opening segment. He has seen some progress over the last week or so, where you look at their defensive rating during that time, they're back to being top 10. That hopefully is the start of something, because we've been saying for a while it starts on the defensive end. Maybe they're turning a corner here.
Yeah, you got to control what you can control. And for the Clippers, that starts on that defensive side. It starts with the effort, with the rebounding. One thing that's been great to see, Adam, the Clippers are the #1 defensive rebounding team percentage-wise in the NBA their last 3 games. So when they have put more of an effort towards rebounding the ball, it has helped their defense. It's really helped everything. They've been in these games more because they're doing a great job of rebounding the basketball, forcing teams to be one and done on the offensive end. Now they're going to be put to test with arguably maybe the greatest offensive rebounding team in the history of the NBA in the Houston Rockets today. But if the Clippers can continue to give that effort on the defensive glass, it just makes life a lot easier for them.
They say a possession doesn't start for the Rockets until that first miss of theirs. That's when it gets going, because they are able to get to those offensive rebounds. Somebody that did come back and has looked better, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I thought he made some key buckets late in the fourth quarter of that ball game. Ended up with 9, 4 of 7 shooting in the 109-106 loss in Minnesota on Saturday. They need him desperately right now. Another guy who can handle the rock a little bit, create for himself and others.
And he looked really comfortable, and that was a huge thing for the Clippers. This has been a guy who's been on every road trip since going down with that injury. It wasn't like he wasn't around the team, and it looked like he was comfortable when he was on the hardwood. One-legged floater in the paint was huge to get the game close late. I thought he hit some big threes, took the right amount of threes, and the biggest thing was you had another experienced ball handler on the floor. Now, the Clippers have had great support from Kobe Sanders and Kobe Brown, but they don't have maybe the experience of somebody like a Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's been in big moments, been in an Eastern Conference Finals. This is a guy who knows how to create for his teammates when he needs to take a shot, and really has a great feel for the game. Ty Lue saying post-game, he gave us a huge lift against Minnesota, and hopefully he continue to give the Clippers some sort of lift.
Ivica Zubac also, he played well out there going at specifically one of the toughest defenders in the league in Rudy Gobert. Was 7 of 14, but we're talking about, tough buckets on the interior, where he was really showing a little bit of force against a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Ivica Zubac definitely does not shy away from playing the best defenders in the NBA. He is elite at getting to the rim, getting to the right-handed hook, drawing contact. I thought the biggest thing for him, Adam, in that game was his ability to not only get to the rim, but then also find his teammates. A couple of nice assists for Big Zoo in that contest. You just love to see him get more comfortable. I mean, he's back to where he has been last season, averaging 16 points and 11 rebounds. He's got the second most total rebounds in the NBA behind Nikola Jokic. He's 3rd in the league in double-doubles. I mean, these were all stats we mentioned time and time again last season, and now he's right back with the leaderboards inside the paint in the NBA.
Clippers taking on the Houston Rockets tonight in the final game of this 5-game road trip after 4 days off. Coming up next, Carlo Jimenez has his one-on-one conversation with the head coach and Tyronn Lue as you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip off just about 48 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown, the official pregame show of your LA Clippers. I'm Adam Osland. Coming up, we'll go back in time in Clippers Rewind, but first we're heading back over to your voice of the Clippers in Carlo Jimenez.
Thanks so much, Adam. Here with head coach Saron Liu before the Clippers take on the Houston Rockets. Coach, you guys are a top 10 defensive team your last 3 games. What specifically have you done better on the defensive side?
I think just continue to keep showing our guys, keep continuing to show like what we need them to do every single night. And we were able to do it last year, but now when you acquire new guys trying to understand the system and what we're trying to do, I think guys are starting to pick it up and we're starting to do it better.
You've been a great paint defensive team all season. How do you close up the perimeter then?
Well, if usually you can't take away everything.
Yeah.
And usually if you're a great team as far as defending the paint, you're going to give up threes. Or if you're a great team that defends threes, you're going to give up the paint. And so we'd rather try to take away layups and paint points. The 3-point shot is what's daily nowadays, but teams have been shooting it great. Statistically, when they're not great shooting teams, they've been making them anyway. And so we got to try to do both. Protect the paint, but make sure we get back out to shooters as well.
Just 2 more for you, but Kawhi is almost averaging 25 on 50, 40, 90. Is this the best regular season he's played for you?
No, I think actually my first year, when he was healthy and we went to the conference finals that year. I think that was a year where he just, him and PG both, they had, career years. I thought they did a good job of getting to the paint, making the right play. They shot 10% less pull-ups because they was getting to the paint. It was kicking out for threes. But, he's always been an efficient player. When he's healthy and when he plays, he's always been an efficient player.
You played here in Houston. What do you remember about your playing days for the Rockets?
Playing for Jeff Van Gundy.
What was that like?
It was great. It was great. Just have a chance to play with, play for Jeff, playing with T-Mac, playing with Yao Ming. I played with Jimmy Jackson as well here, So those were fun days for me.
Thank you so much, Coach. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Coach Lou there pregame with Carlo Jimenez as we get set for the Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip off about 46 minutes away. Up next, we're going back to 1993 in Clippers Rewind right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in H-Town taking on the Rockets. Tip-off is just about 44 minutes away. I'm Adam Osland. It is Clippers Countdown. Coming up, we'll have Tomer Azarli on from Clutch Points. We'll also get your player to watch. But first, we are going back in time in Clippers Rewind to May 8th of 1993. The biggest movie out at the time was Indecent Proposal with Robert Redford and Demi Moore, Woody Harrelson. Biggest song out at the time was Informer by Snow. The Clippers, they were in an epic first-round series against the Houston Rockets.
We are just underway. Smith changed his mind. Good look for Thornton.
Smith has done a good job accepting it as Stanley Roberts shows the mobility from the top of the circle.
Nice move by Norton following the fling by Ori. Lajuron, yes. And Houston has a 3-point lead. Connor got it off. It counts. Harper opens for 3. Yes. Smith for 3. Kenny Smith drains the 3-pointer. 2 minutes and 35 seconds to go. Fourth quarter. Harper knocks it away. Here's Jackson. Manning off the dribble. And he hits a big shot. Harper all the way. Yes, and it counts. Ron Harper will go to the line. And it's Smith breaking ahead of the field. Harper able to save it. Fires. Rebound. Roberts. And he shoots. And that is it. They celebrate at the summit. The Houston Rockets hold on and beat the Los Angeles Clippers. They take the series in 5.
Marv Albert on the call. Now, 5 games was the maximum amount you could play back then in a first-round series. This game 5, though, was special. Clippers were taking on Hakeem, Kenny Smith, and a Rockets team that would go on to win back-to-back championships in the next couple of seasons. The players on the Clippers, though, Danny Manning, he had 24 and 12 boards. You heard Ron Harper's name, Kenny Norman, Mark Jackson, Stanley Roberts. That was a fun team back in 93 that gave the Houston Rockets all they could handle. Coming up next, we'll get to your player to watch. Clippers in Houston taking on these Rockets. We'll also have Tomer Azarli on in just a bit. I'm Adam Osland. It's Clippers Countdown right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers taking on the Rockets in Houston. Tip off about 40 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Still to come, Tomer Azarli will be here. We'll also get your drive around the league, and Carlo Jimenez will return. But first,
this is LA Clippers basketball.
Watching this guy play right now is really something.
Players to watch.
You know, a lot of the conversation in the chat currently surrounding Ivica Zubac. I know there's some trade rumors swirling right now, but I'm watching Big Zoo tonight. coming off his 15-13 game against Rudy Gobert, where he had 6 offensive rebounds, 6 of the 10 for the Clippers in their 109-106 loss in Minnesota on Saturday night. Ivica Zubac, though, playing a much more aggressive brand of basketball in that one. He's looked good over the last 3 weeks or so. The averages are up across the board, but now he's going up against another good front line with the Houston Rockets. They got some guys they can throw at you, including Aquaman Steven Adams out there, Jabari Smith Jr. as well, Şengün. They're tough. Ivica Zubac is going to have to be at his best in this one for the Clippers to continue to rebound the basketball like they have the last 3 games, as Carlo mentioned. Their first in defensive rebounding percentage over that time. Last season, they were first in defensive rebounding percentage throughout the entire year. So we're starting to see glimmers of hope of this team getting back to what we saw last year with the Clippers when they were a top 10 defense, top 3, and the best defensive rebounding team in the league. Doing it, though, against this Houston Rockets team, the best offensive rebounding team in the league. Going to be a tough task. Going to need a lot from Ivica Zubac, who played 38 minutes on Saturday. Expect just as many, if not more, tonight in Houston. Ivica Zubac, my player to watch. Clippers taking on the Rockets. Tip-off is just about 38 minutes away. Up next, your injury report. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Oh, Clippers are in Houston. I get it. Daniel West theming out the music once again. Am I the only one who thought Destiny's Child was better than Beyonce solo? I don't know. Clippers and Rockets tipping off just about 35 minutes from now. I'm Adam Osland. This is Clippers Countdown, the official pregame show of your Los Angeles Clippers. Still to come, we got Tomer Azarli coming on from Clutch Points. I know he has a big announcement and also made some news a little bit earlier today talking about Clippers trade possibilities. But first, let's get to that injury report. Still out for the Clippers. Of course, Bradley Beal out for the season. Derek Jones Jr. still out with that right knee sprain. Although he has been shooting and just not taking any contact at this point. So hopefully he can be ahead of schedule. I would say he's still about 3 weeks away, is I think where we're at in the date on the timeline for when his return could be. As for the Houston Rockets, no Tari Eason in this ball game. Right oblique strain. Of course, no Fred VanVleet, and Dorian Finney-Smith still out as well. Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip-off just about 33 minutes away. Up next from Clutch Points, it's our friend Tomer Azarli. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip-off is just 30 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. I'm Adam Osland. Coming up, we'll get your drive around the league, but joining the show right now from Clutch Points would be Tomer Azarli. Follow him on X at TOMERAZARLY. And today was the inaugural voyage. He debuted his new show with Brett Siegel, NBA insider for Clutch Points. It's called Clutch Scoops. Check it out on X. Of course, Tomer retweeted it. You can find it there. Tomer, how often you doing these shows? Give us a little bit of the background here on what you guys or what we can be looking forward to weekly, I guess.
First of all, Adam, I appreciate the plug. Thank you for having me and appreciate plugging the show. This is just going to be a weekly show here where Brett and I mean, we're starting on Twitter, live on Twitter, and we're hopeful to expand to YouTube as well, and maybe some other platforms, Instagram, Facebook. But for now, I think Twitter and YouTube will be our primary platforms. But yeah, just to go over, there's a lot going on in the NBA. I think we know this. It's a 12-month-a-year sport. There's no real time off, so we really just want to dive into everything, whether it's national NBA news, local news. If it's some, he's in New York, I'm here in LA, whether it's here in LA, whatever. Just going into everything NBA and addressing rumors and, giving fans a quick little informative, bit on what's going on around the league.
Now, just so I make sure we hear you clearly, I don't know, are we on Bluetooth or anything, Tomer, speakerphone? Is there any way to hear you better while you promote the new show? Do we got anything? It's a landline. It still sounds like this.
I can get you off my my AirPod. How's that?
Well, let's try it without the AirPod here. I just want to make sure we're good when you're coming through loud and clear. Now, there's no issue here because we're not on the Zoom and your brother's not walking around in the background with his shirt off or anything like that. That was an ultimate snafu on Clippers Talk that dreadful day. Sorry to bring it up, but I was just reminded of that. So let's talk about some of the stuff you discussed on today's show in Clutch Scoops. You had a couple on the Clippers, including something on Kobe Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Clippers would eventually like to convert Kobe Sanders to a standard contract. I think, with the two-way contract, you are limited to a certain amount of games. I believe it's around 50. I think it started on 44. I'm not sure if it was up too much, but you are limited. You're supposed to split time between the G League and the NBA. And Kobe Sanders has been with the varsity team pretty much the entire season and playing, starting some games, being in the rotation, a glue guy for that rotation, and a guy who, frankly, probably can't leave the rotation. So I would imagine at some point the Clippers would like to convert him, be able to get him on a standard deal and be able to just not have to worry about the two-way aspect of things. But there's obviously a lot of financial restrictions with the first apron that they're right under, and other roster ramifications, trade deadline stuff that could change those plans. I don't think there's an immediate rush to get that done, but I do think that it's something that they're interested in getting done eventually because he's been such an important guy to this team so far.
Speaking of important guys, I believe there's some rumors also going about involving Ivica Zubac that I know fans are grabbing their pearls with. They're clutching pearls over this one, but the Clippers are 6-18, so I think everything is on the table, at least talking about it. Was there something about him and the Indiana Pacers that surfaced earlier today?
I mean, look, I think the Pacers, ever since losing Miles Turner, they've been looking for their kind of replacement. Turner's been their starter for the last decade, if not a little bit more than that. And so I think they're just looking for a replacement so that by the time Tyrese Halliburton comes back from his Achilles tear, you've got a real team there with Pascal Siakam, Aaron Nesmith will be there. You'll have a good team, and then hopefully a center that you can kind of rely on to round things out. That being said, just because a team is inquiring about a player does not mean that player is being shopped. And I think that's a very important distinction to have. Like, there's no indication that the Clippers are interested or even entertaining Zubac's trade offers. He's easily their most important asset, and I would imagine it takes a lot to pry him from LA. But after what we saw last year with Luka Doncic, never say never. And so I think, if the right trade becomes available, I think the Clippers, would maybe have to take it. But that being said, I think the asking price for Zoo is really high, and rightfully so. He's coming off a career year and has been really, really good this year, and is really just entering the prime of his career now. So no reason to believe that, that they will. I think they like Zoo. He's a homegrown talent. And so I expect him to continue his time here with the Clippers. But again, this is the NBA. You never know what's going to happen.
And reportedly, the Clippers, as you mentioned, kicking at least Benedict Mathurin is the name that comes up, regardless of what the Clippers would be interested in. It seems like a lot of teams could be looking at Benedict Mathurin. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, that's what Brett reported in his piece yesterday and today. I mean, I don't really have too much insight into that. But look, I think the Pacers are open to retooling their roster in any way they see fit ahead of Tyrese's return from the Achilles tear. I think they have their core down with the, Tyrese, Pascal, Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin, Andrew Nembhard. Like, they have those guys. And, I mean, frankly, you can't pay everyone. And so there were points where Benedict Mathurin, as great as he is, was out of the rotation last year. He was a big piece of, their finals run as well. So I think when you have to, weigh the first apron ramifications and where you kind of stand right now, and we saw the Boston Celtics do it last year, having to move on from Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis as they kind of retooled with Jason Tatum going out. So, I'm sure there's interest in Benedict Mathurin. He's a very talented player who hasn't really had the most complete runway to be himself. But I think when you look at the Pacers, they probably have some decisions to make. And Benedict Mathurin could, be a casualty of those. So we'll see.
And going back to the Clippers, what did you make of the talk at practice about CP3 on Tuesday and getting some clarity on what happened, at least from Coach Lou's side, when it came to that reporting that he hadn't talked with CP3 for 2 weeks? What was your impression that you got just from the mood of the team and also from what Coach Lou said there in his response?
I mean, Ty was never going to come out and said that we didn't talk. And frankly speaking, like he said, how can he play if he doesn't talk? Yeah, they definitely had conversations. But I think, there was a stretch there where Chris had 5 straight DNPs as the Clippers were dealing with injuries and some back-to-back situations or whatever. So Chris did not play for a stretch there, and it coincided with the start of their losing streak, or really after that 3-2 start they had. So look, maybe they were talking in passing and they had conversations, but nothing too deep, I would say. And Ty's not going to come out there and say we didn't talk. Like, what is he supposed to say? Yeah, we had beef or something. Like, I think Chris again is a very a specific type of leader, type of player, and I think that's respected around the NBA. But I think there are certain times where maybe that just rubs people the wrong way, and we've seen that happen in his previous years in Houston, even here in LA, with some of the Lob City teams. So I don't think it's anything too crazy or to get worked up about. I think the Clippers have moved on. They're happy with being able to do so, and they will, do their best to find Chris a home that he can kind of close out the rest of his career with. I know he wanted to close it out here in Los Angeles, so maybe the Lakers are that team. I'm not sure, but waiving Chris outright just doesn't make sense, and so they're going to have to find a partner for him once his restriction lifts on December 15th.
It seemed to me like, from everything we heard on Tuesday, there wasn't an issue between him and players. Where do you come out on that?
I'm mixed on that because I'd heard that, that maybe some guys weren't super happy with him, but others really didn't mind his style and they almost appreciated it. So I think it depends on who you ask. And look, I think at the end of the day, Chris just wanted to win. The team wanted to win. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not like they weren't on the same page, but it's just different styles. And I think Chris's style, we've seen his abrasive leadership tactics that have worked in the past. And when you are a star, a number one guy, like I said this last week, like you can't afford to be that guy. But when you're already in a losing streak and you're struggling as the 13th man on the bench, shooting 30% from the field, like it kind of rings a little bit hollow sometimes. And then people don't, they're already upset with the losing streak. They don't want to hear more of that, from the bench and from the sideline. So I think it was more a situation like that where it just piled on too much. Everything kind of came together at the wrong time, if that makes sense. And it just made sense to move on.
Now, you had talked with him, I believe, regarding, was it official that he was retiring when it was announced that his last time in Charlotte was that last game where James Harden had 55 against the Hornets. That seemed interesting to me, where he was a little bit non-committal. How would you characterize it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the article I wrote kind of conveyed that conversation, but yeah, I mean, he had the Charlotte post where he said, like, I've enjoyed my last game in North Carolina, but that was the first kind of inkling of any kind of retirement, you could say. But leading up in the weeks leading up to that, like on media day or whatever, he had his intro press conference. He said, "Don't write me off. Like, don't write me off if this is my last year. We don't know for sure if this is my last year, and so let me just play it out." And so there weren't really any indications that it was going to be his last year for sure. I think we all had a feeling, but he never outright announced it. And so they continued that road trip, and then I think Shams released a report saying he's announced his final year. And then the Clippers played a tribute video for him during rehearsals, pregame. And I was just confused because I had not seen Chris Paul do media. He didn't speak to anyone in particular or in a scrum, and didn't announce anything on social media that he was retiring. So I went up and asked him pregame after that rehearsal. I think it was against the Memphis Grizzlies, that first half of back-to-back. I said, "Hey, Chris, look, like they're playing a video for you. They said you announced your retirement. What is going on?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I was like, "So are you retiring? What is going on?" And he turns and walks towards the showers and goes, "That's interesting. Yeah." And then turns the corner and I don't see him again. And that was about 2 or 3 days before they ended up releasing him. So, at the time I didn't know what to make of it. After the release, it maybe seems to align with this was kind of in the work. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely was a strange exchange that did kind of make a little bit more sense after the release.
Is it possible, because I keep hearing people say, why did you release him in the middle of the night and send him home from Atlanta? Is he the one that broke the news by putting that out on social media? And was there a thought that maybe they were going to try to keep it in the background for as long as possible?
So the timeline of this was Lawrence and the team, once they took off from LA to Miami, obviously a long flight. There was obviously that incident with him and Jeff Van Gundy and the coaching staff about the whole leeway. We've seen that reported multiple times. I've heard the same thing. And so, I think towards the end of that flight, I think it was conveyed from Lawrence Frank to Chris Paul, "Hey, we need to have a conversation in person." And that was before the Miami game. So Chris went on and played that game. And from what I understand, Chris understood that might have been coming. I might be wrong on that, but from how it was conveyed to me, is Chris understood that was coming. And so, they obviously had the 6.5, 7-hour delay in Miami heading to Atlanta. They were supposed to leave at 1:30. I believe they ended up leaving around 8 due to a plane delay, a technical delay. And so you get to Atlanta at what, 9:30, 10, whatever, have a quick dinner. Lord said he spoke with Chris Paul for 3 hours, and then that tracks with around the timeline of Chris posting it at what, about 1:32-ish or 12 a.m.-ish, I want to say.
Okay.
So it all kind of aligns. Like, I think Chris knew, but he was the one who broke it by saying they just sent me home with that Instagram story. And then I believe Chris Haynes was the first one to officially report that Chris has been relieved or sent home from the team. So that's kind of the timeline of it. There's, I think it depends on who you ask. I could think everyone's trying to angle it differently, but from what I understand, Chris did kind of understand this was coming. They'd had multiple conversations with him over the last month about kind of reining it in and just being more of a chiller team guy, and that simply was not the case. And so the Clippers just at that point had enough and were ready to move on.
Lastly, Tomer, appreciate the time. Regarding leeway, do you confirm that report that Chris Haynes had that Kawhi was having issues with Klay Thompson late in the ballgame?
I'm going to be honest with you. I cannot confirm that exact thing. I know that Klay was already going off at that point. I think he got started late in the third quarter.
Right.
He had 6 threes in the second half, starting late in the third quarter. So I don't know if it was a Kawhi issue specifically, but I can confirm that Chris went and kind of tried to change some of the defensive coverages on his own without confirming with the coaching staff. And so that may have thrown, the defense into a little bit of a loop as far as who's doing what, who's going over, whatever it was. So
you're saying changing coverages.
Had good intentions.
You're saying changing coverages, maybe not just suggesting, as Chris Haynes put it. How would you phrase it?
I would say, probably hinting at Zoo and Kawhi to play something a little bit more differently, whether Klay's coming off screens or whatever. I mean, at that point, it really didn't matter. I think Klay had hit 3 or 4 in a row, so he was already going. But yeah, I think he was just trying to do the best thing for the team, and I think that's the bottom line here. It didn't come off well with the coaching staff, but I think he had positive intentions, and regardless, it didn't work out. So I think that's just a little bit of the issue, and JVG obviously after the as the report said, kind of went, hey, I don't know what kind of leeway you had before, but you don't really have that here. And so, Chris was frustrated, and then, we know what happened after that. They had that conversation, and he sent home. So, yeah.
Excellent reporting from Tomer Azarly at Tomer Azarly on X, and check out his new show with Brett Siegel, also from Clutch Points. That would be Clutch Scoops, debuting today on X. Tomer, thanks for doing this. Appreciate you, as always, coming on Clippers Countdown, my friend.
Adam, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Coming up next, as we get set for the Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets, and we're 16 minutes away from tip-off, we'll get your driver on the league. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip-off is just 14 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. I'm Adam Oslin. Coming up, back to Carlo Jimenez. But first, let's get your drive around the league. Coming up a little bit later in Milwaukee, it's the Boston Celtics taking on the Bucks without Giannis Antetokounmpo dealing with that calf injury, which could keep him out a few more weeks. Calf injuries been on the rise. Been some articles about it just earlier today, and the concern there, especially when you're talking about superstars like Giannis Antetokounmpo and the league trying to keep these guys healthy. Of course, superstars help with ratings, but right now we also know he could be on the trading block. Mixed messaging there. Maybe I should have asked Tomer Azarli about that, who we just had on last segment, but we were dealing with the Clippers. Pelicans will be hosting the Portland Trail Blazers, and Denny Avdia, who has been cooking. He is averaging 26, 7, and 6 assists per game. Trailblazers have cooled off a little bit themselves at 9-15 after a faster start to the season, 6-9 on the road. But they're in New Orleans taking on a 3-22 Pelicans team without Zion Williamson. Still have Trey Murphy III, who is a big trade chip if they have a sell-off. Everybody talks about Herb Jones. But what about Trey Murphy III? How many first-round picks do you get for him? The Sacramento Kings, they have made it known that they're open for business, and they are hosting the Denver Nuggets later tonight. Kings at 6-18, Denver Nuggets at 17-6. Coming up next, back to Carlo Jimenez. I'm Adam Oslin as we get set for the Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Thought it was a Clips and Dip episode. Clippers taking on the Houston Rockets in Houston. Tip-off is just about 10 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. I'm Adam Oslin. Welcome back in. Coming up, we'll get to your keys to victory, but first, back out to Carlo Jimenez. Carlo, let's go behind enemy lines. Talk about the Houston Rockets near the top of the Western Conference. Obviously added a huge piece in Kevin Durant. The fit has been good so far. They have a lot of youth next to him. How has it looked on paper with their offense that struggled a lot last season, but now has that guy you can get it to and get out the way with?
Yeah, they're not struggling at all this season on the offensive end, Adam. They are top 5 in offense and defense. I know we talk about teams that are top 10 in offensive defense or true contenders. They're top 5 in both categories, 4th on the offensive end, 3rd on the defensive end. You kind of spoke to it earlier. Just because they have Kevin Durant doesn't mean they've lost the philosophy of oh, let's offensive rebound like our lives depend on it. They're still number one in the NBA in offensive rebounds per game. In fact, Ty Lue talked about earlier today how they are the number one offensive rebounding team ever in the history of the NBA. Ime Udoka has these guys going after an offensive rebound like it's water in the desert. They are fighting every single time for an O board. And then, really, they've just added some nice pieces. I mean, still, Tari Eason and Dorian Finney-Smith have not played for this Houston team, and yet they're sitting at 15-6 right now. Amen Thompson has stepped up. Jabari Smith Jr. has had a nice season, averaging 15 points a contest. And their bench is pretty deep this year. I mean, Reed Shepard averaging 24 minutes a game and giving them 13. He has been a significant leap on the second unit.
Yeah, we always thought, when they lost Fred VanVleet, who'd be able to step up? Was Reed Shepard ready? Looks like it so far. Season's still young. This Clippers team trying to get back into it at 6-18. What's the mood of the team right now, Carlo? Just being around them, the practice they had on Tuesday, Coach Lue saying, we're better in some areas here and there. Players are still trying to remain optimistic. But what's realistic with this team and their mood and their, I guess, mindset before they head back home?
Yeah, I think there's a good mindset and mood around this team, and the fact that they understand they can only do it one game at a time, that they just have to get better one game at a time, and they still feel like they have the pieces to be able to go on a run here. And, with the way Kawhi Leonard and James Harden have played, who's to say they can't? They just have to get back to that defensive mindset that they struggled to begin the season with. But I think the last 3 games have really encouraged the group. I mean, they feel like, look, we can be a good rebounding team. We can be a good defensive team. We just have to close games. That's what Ty Lue kind of spoke to at practice, Adam, was that at the end of the games is what's really important. It's that next step. I mean, you talk about getting back to your winning ways. First, it was getting back on the defensive side. Can you still be consistent with that? Now it's, can you close games really well? The Clippers were the middle-of-the-road clutch team a season ago. This season, they're 29th in the NBA in clutch at 2-8. Only the Pelicans are worse. They have to be better in close contests. I mean, you think about this team, Adam, they've lost 6 games by 5 or fewer. They've been in a lot of games this season. It's not like they're getting blown out night in and night out. It's just being able to finish the game as good as they start the game.
So my player to watch is in the starting lineup. That would be Ivica Zubac, given the rebounding difference between these two teams so far this season. But the Clippers have been better the last 3 games when it comes to cleaning the glass on the defensive end against the best offensive rebounding team ever. I need Ivica Zubac to have a good ball game. Who's your player to watch, Carlo?
I need 2018 James Harden to be here today.
Ooh.
I think he's back in Houston. An opportunity for the Clippers on a lot of rest. I mean, 4+ days of rest against this Rockets team that likes to run. I think James Harden could be a big, big piece for this Clipper team today. And the biggest thing is, can he continue to play strong in the second half of ball games? It feels like he started so many games well this season, among the leaders in points in the first quarter. But I want to see a fourth quarter James Harden takeover. It felt like, Adam, the last couple of seasons when the Clippers have needed somebody to get them out of clutch time, James Harden has been that hero. Can he be back to being that hero for this Clipper team?
Carlo Jimenez on the call. Tip-off in Houston between the Clippers and Rockets just about 6 minutes away. Coming up next, your keys to victory right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip-off just moments away. Let's get to your keys to victory. Hell, no surprise here. It is a battle of the boards going on. The Clippers have to be adequate on that end. That doesn't mean they have to be better than the Houston Rockets when it comes to getting offensive rebounds, since the Rockets are the greatest team in NBA history there. I guess the advanced stats say so, but they're number one in offensive rebounding percentage so far this season. The Clippers, though, the last 3 games, number one in defensive rebounding percentage. So this is a great test for them. And we're really going to find out quickly here if the Clippers are getting back to a lot of the principles they had last season. Remember, last year, they finished the year at the top of the list in the NBA when it comes to defensive rebounding percentage. Now, can they get back to that? Can they get back to playing better defense like they have the last 3 games? Are they turning a corner? Or are they hitting a brick wall? And that brick wall, Steven Adams. Clippers in Houston taking on the Rockets. Tip-off just moments away with Carlo Jimenez right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.